Hey, this is Alex Baker. You might not know me better by my handle online, Osmo, and I'm joined today by Chris Randone. You've definitely seen his face before. It's pretty hard to forget, but he's appeared on The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise. Chris, how are you doing, man?
Man, they call me the man of a thousand faces. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to talk about some more daily fantasy, kind of help people understand what it is, educate them a little bit on really the amazing opportunities that daily fantasy can provide to people, and really give them a solid foundation to have the confidence to want to play.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to talking about how you can get into daily fantasy. We're going to focus on baseball today. I know a lot of people who play season long might not even be aware of the daily fantasy you can play. And I've heard something like only 3% of season long players play daily, but I have a lot of fun playing, and I know you do as well. How did you get into daily fantasy sports to begin with?
Yeah, I was playing. I remember growing up just doing the season long fantasy where you have a team for the entire year, and it gets pretty dragged out. It's fun. However, though, I got introduced to daily fantasy sports back in 2014, 2013, I believe, and there were a lot of similarities. However, it was daily, and what that meant was more fast paced, and that created a lot of excitement for me to know that I can do a daily lineup. And if it doesn't go as planned, I have the next day to kind of get involved and enter another tournament and things of that nature. But I think the biggest thing was the amount of money that could be won really sparked my interest in wanting to play more. Having the ability to win $1 million on a given day based on a $15 investment is something you really don't see anywhere. So that's kind of what really got me interested early on in wanting to play daily fantasy sports. How about you?
I've always been a gamer, and I played a lot of season long as well. My frustration with season long is the most fun part about season long is drafting your team, but you only do that once, and then I play a lot of fantasy basketball, and it's just a matter of getting the guys who are playing that day into your lineup every single day. So there's a lot of micromanagement and not really the fun part, which is like building your team. And in daily fantasy, you got to do that every day.
Yeah. So with FanDuel, you are allowed to pick one pitcher and then 8 players to formulate a team. Those positions go from first base to second base, third base, shortstop, 3 outfielders, and then a utility player. A utility player is someone who could be assigned any position that could fill that actual role. And you are giving a certain amount of salary to construct a team. So if you're new to daily fantasy, what you're doing is you're picking players to formulate a team. However, you have to stay under the salary cap. And that's where it gets tricky. You're trying to figure out what team is going to give you the best chance of winning. However, you can't pick all your favorite players, especially if they're all stars, because they're going to have all high prices and you're going to go over the salary cap. So you have to really be strategic and really kind of figure out how to pick your players accordingly, because then you also need a pitcher as well. And those are typically the highest priced position in constructing lineups.
Yeah, so if you're planning to form a baseball team of all stars, probably not possible. The way it's challenging is you gotta figure out some of these guys who are up and coming that don't have a lot of buzz around them, and thus are a little bit lower priced on the sites, and that's how you can gain an edge against everyone else who maybe they're not spending as much time looking into that day's games, and you can outsmart them by building a better team.
Right. And what happens is you make this lineup, and depending upon the tournament or the cash game that you enter, there is a prize pool. And the prize pool is consisted of all the people that have bought in minus the rake that the company takes for the entry fee. Okay. So if there are, let's just say, 1,000 people that are playing, normally based across all tournaments, whatever dollar amount that is to get into the prize, to get into the tournament, the prize pool usually pays out the top, what is it, Alex, 10% or 20%?
Yeah, if you make the top 20%, usually you'll get a prize depending on the tournament. But obviously, the big prizes, the ones that you mentioned, are why you got interested, are at the top. Right now, I have this tournament on DraftKings pulled up. There are 26,000 lineups in this. You can enter up to 150, so you can enter anywhere between $9 and 150 times that. If you get first place in this tournament, you can win 50 grand. That's not too bad, right?
It's not bad at all. I mean, $9 to see the potential return on 50 grand is completely unheard of, especially in the amount of time, which could be in a few hours. So in a few hours, you could go from a $9 investment and potentially win $50,000, which is absolutely insane and wouldn't make sense for a lot of people, but it happens every single day.
Yeah, there's someone that's going to win that 50K every single day. So someone's getting that magic moment from their $9 investment. And I think what people might not realize about daily fantasy sports to begin with is how much strategy goes in. I've been able to make a living playing daily fantasy sports. You can make a lot of money if you're really good at it. So what are the ways you can get an advantage over everyone else who's building their lineup?
That's a great question. There are a few things that are basic that can really help you hit the ground running to give you, I guess I would say, an edge. One of those things are ownership, understanding kind of who will be the top plays of the night, who will be the top pitchers, what is your opponent's thinking as far as who they're going to choose. And why this is important and effective is because it allows you to understand kind of where you see yourself and where your team ranks amongst your opponents before the game even starts, if that makes sense. And this is helpful because you know who the top people are choosing essentially, and really who is getting put into lineups that have a lot of value. And what this does is it allows you to give a better understanding if your team is very quote unquote contrarian, which no one has, that, you know, if they go off and no one else has them, gives you the opportunity to win. Or if you have the same team as everyone else, which you're more than likely going to lower your odds of taking down that 50 grand tournament.
Yeah, so if your strategy is to go in and pick all Red Sox players every night because they're a good team, a lot of other people are thinking the same thing, and you're going to be competing with a lot of other people for those prizes if the Red Sox do well. But if you pick a less popular team, there's going to be less people with lineups similar to yours, and that gives you a better chance to win. We offer ownership projections, which are based on which players and which teams are the most popular of the day on awesemo.com, our site. You can use the promo code TheCrunch to get 50% off your first month or week package. Another thing we offer are projections for players, and that's how well do you expect on average a player is going to do on a given day. In general, you want to balance the two factors. Like, your team has to be projected to do pretty well at baseball that day, but also it can't be what everyone else is doing. So how do you kind of find that balance?
Yeah, so projections, I would say, are another huge thing that plays a role in being able to play fantasy sports and give yourself the opportunity to win. Projections allow you to see the difference of who potentially will be performing at a high level as compared to someone who's projected to be at a low level. And why this is important is because you're trying to orchestrate a team that puts up the most points possible, because the team that represents the most points at the end of the tournament will win the prize. And so differentiating that and understanding players that are projected a high point as compared to someone who's projected for low points will allow you to really gauge and understand how to build the highest projected lineup possible. And what's cool about that is the Fantasy Cruncher software on awesemo.com that allows you to look at the projections and go ahead and run a series of lineups through automation based on these projections to give you the most optimal lineups possible with the highest projected point total. And that's something that you can go on awesemo.com and go ahead and sign up. It's the Fantasy Crunch software. And this is something that all the top pros use. Alex uses it himself. I use it myself. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to see things more clearly from a professional level. and it allows you to increase your odds of taking down a tournament.
Absolutely. And you can watch more of our videos for advice on how to use Fantasy Cruncher. We just did a one on stacking, and stacking is when you put a lot of batters on the same team in your lineup. Because when they score runs, you're hoping they get 10 plus runs in a game. Somewhat unlikely, but one of the teams is going to do it on most nights. And if you have a lot of players from that team, you're going to do pretty well. So Fantasy Cruncher allows you to easily make those lineups. You can also do it using the software on the different sites. So a couple more things that are important for your daily fantasy baseball lineups in particular. Number one, I would say, is weather. So how will weather kind of affect your strategy on a given night?
Yeah, weather's huge. I mean, look at the last couple days. There have been games that are on a slate where if they hold a huge potential to get postponed, and if you choose players in that game, you will not receive points and you will not be able to change those players once the game locks. And this is important because you have now limited yourself from winning because other players are going to have other teams that have more players in play, which really limits your percentage of winning, to be honest with you. And weather plays a huge factor as well outside of postponements when it comes to rain. Rain changes the play of the game, could slow it down. It really can decrease runs, and also it can cause injuries. So these are some main things to really look at when it comes to looking at weather. And also certain ballparks with certain weather change the play drastically. So it's just something where being cognizant and having the awareness of knowing what the weather's like, knowing kind of how that affects gameplay, already increases your skill set compared to so many other players out there.
Definitely. So if you can figure out which games are going to be postponed on a given night, you can avoid those zeros. And having players that are actually playing is extremely important for winning your tournaments, obviously. Some great resources are on Twitter. If you're not a member of Twitter, I recommend signing up if you want to be serious about DFS. But I have my own feed at Awesome Weather, and there's some other great meteorologists out there. The other really important thing I'd say are baseball lineups. So every day, a few hours before their game, the team releases their lineup. So what exactly do you use that information for?
Yeah, I mean, lineups basically tell you who's playing and who's not. So you could easily pick someone, let's just say for your lineup, and the lineup isn't set yet, and all of a sudden that person gets taken out of the lineup. You now have a player that has been scratched or is not playing, which leads to you not getting points for that player, which decreases once again your chance of taking down a tournament. And the biggest thing here is, once again, having that awareness and looking at resources for lineups. There are great websites out there to see lineups, but the one I really focus on the most is the daily lineups page for Awesemo on the website. And what here is you can also get into this lineup builder, and you see the lineups, you see the projected lineups, you see if they're confirmed or not, or if they're not confirmed. And it's just one simple page with all the players that are detailed in the lineups. They're highlighted, color coded to help you understand if they're playing or not. But also they have a grade next to those names as well and those players. So you're able to see a lot of great information utilizing one tool. And that's probably, for me personally, the best resource possible is that lineup builder on the Osmo.com website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the lineups and also the team totals and the weather, they're all there, and that'll help you get started with your lineups for the day. So I think we kind of gave a rundown of all the basics for fantasy MLB. Chris, any final words here?
I think it's just really helping people understand daily fantasy. There's so much strategy and statistics and algorithms that are involved. And if you're able to really develop a skill set and compete with the top people out there, there is a great opportunity to make a lot of money. I mean, in one night alone before, I mean, I've taken down 40, 50 grand from one tournament. And I can tell you that people who work all year sometimes don't even make that much. And so really just understanding the opportunity daily fantasy provides to you. And if you have the proper tools and resources, you're able to really have an edge and develop a skill set that can help you make a lot of money.
Absolutely. I think the opportunity is there. It takes a lot of work, but if you're willing to put in the time, find the best resources and you utilize them, you're going to be on your way. And one resource that we offer for free is our YouTube channel. You can click subscribe and get all our daily updates, and make sure to click that bell. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up. That'll make sure a lot of people see this video and help them get started as well. So thank you everybody for watching, and good luck in your leagues.